Hey guys, welcome to this particular video which is related to Appium mobile testing. So what we are going to do is we are going to use an automation test tool called Appium. We are going to use programming language as Java. We are going to use Android SDK platform tools because this is Android specific video. We'll use build tool for Java which is Maven, and we'll be using integrated development environment which is Intellij, which is the latest currently in the market. So we will try to automate couple of apps, well-known apps in the market, which is Uber as well as Reddit. Okay, so we are going to use Appium scripts to try to automate from automation testing perspective. By end of this video, what you will be able to successfully do is launch your mobile application using Appium scripts. Similar to what we'll be able to successfully run something like this, we'll be able to launch Reddit app as such, and we'll be using Appium to validate whatever is getting navigated in the mobile app, which is the real device app as such, and we'll be able to successfully perform operations on this mobile app and then validate as well as we go through the Appium scripts. So let's tune, and there is a big section, there are a lot of steps involved, but when you follow the step-by-step approach, you will be successfully able to do this Appium scripts in your machine as well. So let's proceed to understand step-by-step approach. Please note that the description of this video also will contain all the steps before step-by-step. So if you want to directly go to those steps, you can by clicking on the time. But what I would suggest to you to do is kindly follow these steps sequentially so that you don't have any issues while setting up this Appium, because there are a lot of steps. But I'm pretty much sure if you follow these all steps together, you'll be able to successfully do this test as well. Alright, so just because this is the most comprehensive and most practical video on Appium mobile app testing as such, so what I've done is I have created this as a step-by-step approach. These are the steps that will be required to do in a sequential fashion. So what I've done is at right junction, I have given enough details about these steps as well. You can see that I'm installing IntelliJ, I'm setting up Java environment variables as well. I'm installing Maven and then setting up the environment variables. I'm installing Node so that I can install Appium. I will install Appium and then start the server just to verify that the Appium is really present in the machine or not. I will download the Android SDK. I'll install the platform tools as such to verify that my mobile is really connecting or not. I'll install Vysor. Vysor is a app which connects mobile phone to the machine as such. I'll give the details about my Android phone that I am using in this particular video. I'll give an understanding about the capabilities of the mobile that is specifically required before we proceed with configuring Appium test. I'll create a new Java project. I'll install Appium drivers. At this step, I'll give a Appium driver documentation as well, which is quite important for us to understand when we are scripting with Appium. I'll actually install Android SDK platform tools in my machine before starting, and I'll set the Android underscore home in environment variables. At step number 15, we will be launching the mobile app using Appium Inspector in IntelliJ. We'll use Appium Inspector in this particular case. We'll use Appium locators and strategies and selectors. I'll give an idea about what are strategies that we are going to use specifically for Appium. We will use Appium Inspector to look at the selectors of the Uber app. Because Uber app is going to be our application under test, we will have to inspect the element locators of Uber app, and we'll have to use the strategies and selectors in order to automate. We'll create some Appium scripts and demonstrate the test run of the Uber app using Appium scripts. And then we'll move on to Reddit app. We'll do the similar thing with Reddit app as well, and I will write some scripts, Appium scripts, and demonstrate the test runs of the Reddit app. So there is a lot to cover, but sit back, relax, and I have given enough details during each section and each step so that you can easily follow these steps sequentially. And if you are getting stuck anywhere, you can go back to that step and then start again. So all the best with the step number 1. So for installation of IntelliJ IDE in the local machine, what you need to do is you need to click on Google and then look for an IntelliJ Community Edition. You can search this in your browser, and then you can click on the download IntelliJ, the leading Java and Kotlin IDE. Once you click on the link, the first link that you will be able to see is IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate, but you do not require to have Ultimate version. What you need to have is the Community Edition, which is free for you, and you can select as download based on your requirement, whether you need a .zip file or .exe file. But .exe file is a better option. You can click on download, and this will get automatically downloaded in your default downloads folder. Now once this has got downloaded, what you can do is you can go to your downloads folder and just double click on this .exe file. And once you double click on the .exe file in your downloads folder, you will be able to see something like this, which is IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition Setup. You can click on next, and what it will do is it will select a C drive, which is a default folder in your machine, and it will try to get installed over there. So this is the path. You have to make a note of this path, which is C drive, program files, JetBrains, IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition. Okay, so the version which I have in my machine currently is 2022.3.2. You can select whatever is related to your specific version. It could be 2023 as well, but it will same as what I have in my machine. So I'll just click on next, and then it will give a destination folder where exactly do you require to install it. Click on next, 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 and you will be able to get a successful message that the installation has really happened in your machine. Now, once the installation has happened in your machine, you have got a successful message. You can go into your search bar in your machine and then just search here as IntelliJ, and you will be able to see that the moment you type IntelliJ in your search button, you'll be able to see that something like this is getting opened up, which is IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition 2022. So you can double click or single click on this particular window, and something like this will open up, which is welcome to IDEA, and you can click on create a new project to start with, which will be starting soon, or you can customize and look at the plugins, or click on learn just to learn about IntelliJ. But what I would suggest is we have to create a new project. Okay, so this was my intention, that you at least install IntelliJ IDEA, and something like this window should open up, so that you understand, okay, IntelliJ is really set up. Before creating the new project, we have to make sure that our Java and Maven is really set up correctly in our local machine. So those couple of steps we will be doing soon in the next section. So we are done with step number 1, which is installation of IntelliJ IDEA in local machine. Now the second step that we'll really require to do is a prerequisite, which is step number 2, verify Java in local machine, and if required we have to install it, and then setting up the system and the environment variable. Now let's get that done. For verifying whether the Java is really present in a local machine, what we need to do is we need to search a command prompt in our machine. So I'll just click on this search button over here, and I'll just type over here as command prompt. I'll just single click on this, and something which like this will open up, which is a command prompt. Now it will by default go to a path which is C users and then your user, which is specifically in your machine. Now I'll enter a simple command, which is Java hyphen hyphen version in this particular machine, and press enter on my keyboard. Now what I have got here is Java 11.0.19. What it means is Java is really set up in this machine. Now it may happen that you might not have Java in your machine, which might show that it's not able to understand the command of Java. If that is the case, that you have to install Java in your machine and set up the system variables. Okay, I'll explain that step as well. Now what we need to do is we need to search in a browser as Java and download, and press enter on our keyboard. And you will be able to see that there are a couple of links over here. One is Oracle link and another is directly a Java link. You can go on either of the locations and get Java installed in your machine. Okay, it really doesn't matter. Recently or previously, what had happened is Java was acquired by Oracle. That's the reason there are a couple of links over here. Now I'll just click on Oracle link, which is Java downloads. And the moment I do that, you can see that this particular page opens up, which is specific related to Java downloads. Now the Java latest version currently available in the market is Java 21 and Java 17. Okay. Now these might be the stable versions of Java. But what I have done is I have selected something which is JDK 11. Now I just scroll a little bit down and you can see that Java 8 version is also available and Java 11 version is also available. Now it depends on you what you really need to select. Now I have selected Java 11 for the purpose of stability. Java 11 is quite stable, and I'll just click on this Java 11 tab, and then there is an option of Java 11.0.20. Now depends on your OS, which is operating system, whether which operating system do you have in your local machine, and then you can get it installed in your local machine. Now I have Windows currently, which I'm using in this particular video. I'll just go to Windows tab, and then there is a 64 installer. Now I'll just click on this downloads, and the moment I do that, you can understand that this gets downloaded in the default downloads folder in my machine. Okay, so make sure that where exactly is your default downloads folder. Generally it is under C drive into your local machine where it really gets downloaded. Now you can double click it or you can single click it so that it gets downloaded in your local machine as such. Now, once you have downloaded your particular .exe file, you can double click on that particular .exe file and you will be able to see that some window will get appeared and you can get it installed specifically in your machine. Just proceed with particular steps of installation of Java, and then you'll be able to make sure that you understand where exactly the Java has got installed. Now by default, I'll just explain where exactly Java gets installed and I'll show in my machine as well. I'll go to C drive and then I'll go to program files and I'll go to Java folder, and over here I can see that there is a JDK-11 folder that has got created. Okay, now once it has got created, you can just verify what all folders you have. So you have a bin folder, you have a conf folder, you have a lib folder. Okay, now I had already got this done as soon as my Java got installed and I clicked on that .exe file and my installation got completed. Now the reason I am requesting you guys to verify that which particular path is for you in your machine, it is important that we set up the environment variable in particular machine. Okay, now this is the path exactly which is C drive, program files, Java, JDK hyphen 11 bin. Now this exact path has to be entered in our system variables, which we'll be doing right now. So what I'll do is I'll search environment variables, and the moment I search environment in this particular section, you'll be able to see that there is an edit system variables control panel. Okay, now I'll just click on it and something like this will open up. As you can see, there is a system properties, and I'll click on environment variables, and the moment I click on environment variables, this particular window opens up. Now this particular window is important for us so that our Java really gets recognized by our Windows file as such. Now Java is a product of Oracle and which used to be earlier within Sun microsystem. Now Windows is a operating system which is different from Sun microsystems or Oracle as such. That's the reason we have to set up this environment variable and system variables so that our machine recognizes Java particularly. Okay, now the important area where the environment variable and the system variable has to set up is, you can see that there is a path over here. Now you need to double click on it and you have to provide the exact path So you can see over here, we had our Java got installed at C drive, program files, Java JDK. Okay, so exactly the path I have given over here, you can see that C program files, Java JDK hyphen 11. Okay, I have not given bin over here, but I have just given JDK hyphen 11. Now this is the environment variable I have set it up, and I'll just close it and I'll go to the system variables. Now over system variables, I have set up a Java underscore home. Okay. Now I'll just click on this, and as you can see, I have set up a variable name which is Java underscore home and C drive program files Java JDK hyphen 11. Now we have to give the path where exactly is our bin folder. Okay, that exact path has to be given. Now I have given in the system variable, and I have provided the path under this, which is environment variable as well. And now I am set up with my Java paths. Okay, so system variable is also done, environment variable is also done. Please note that if you are running Java first time in your machine, this will not have been set up, and that's the reason I'm giving this instructions to the people who are trying this in their machine, that you have to set up both this system variable as well as environment variable, and then come back and run this command of Java hyphen hyphen version. Once you have set up this, you have to come back to command prompt and run this particular command, which is Java hyphen hyphen version. And the moment you do that, you can see that you are getting a response back as some kind of version that you have already set up. Okay, so my PC contains Java 11.0.19. That's the reason it is showing over here as Java 11.01.19. Now you might have installed Java 11.0.20, that will get appeared over. Okay, so this is important in order to proceed for setting up our project as such. All right, now our step number 2 is also done, which was a prerequisite. Now what we have to do is a prerequisite verify Maven whether it's really present in our local machine or not. If it is not present, what we have to do is we have to install it. Okay, and then the setting of the system and the environment variable. Now this is very similar to our step number 2, but it is little different as well. That's why I had to set it up that this is a prerequisite before we proceed. Now what we have to do is similar to what we did in the step number 2. We will go to command prompt. So I'll just search command prompt here, and something like this will open up as a command prompt. Now I have to enter a command over here, which is mvn and hyphen version. Okay, and press enter on my keyboard. Now the moment I press enter on my keyboard, there are some details coming out. Okay, so you can see that there is an Apache version, Apache Maven already present, which is 3.9.1, and there is a Maven home setup. Okay, now it's trying to take some details from this particular area, wherein it's taking it from C drive, users, AU, downloads, Apache Maven 3.9.1 bin, and then Apache Maven 3.9.1 version, and it's giving a Java version as well. So it has already linked, the Maven itself has linked with Java. So we have done some settings of Maven as well in our system and environment variable after the download. That's the reason it is showing okay, the Maven is already present. But if it is not present, and if it's showing that it's not able to recognize it's a mvn command, what we have to do is we have to install mvn. Okay, now there is nothing specifically called as installation of mvn. What we really do is we generally download mvn in a particular location and then set up the system and environment variables. Now let's do that. I'll just minimize this command prompt, and then I'll just go to my browser, and I'll just type here as Maven download, and the moment I press that, you can see that there is a link over here which is Apache Maven. Okay, now Maven is an Apache product, and I'll just click on download Apache Maven, and you'll be able to come on this particular page which is Apache. Now you have to specifically download a particular version of Apache. Now there are different links given over here, which is Apache Maven 3.9.1 hyphen bin. Now you can go for .zip file or you can go for .tr, .gz as well. Now what I have done is I have clicked on this particular double clicked on this particular link, and it has gone downloaded in a particular version or a particular link where default link of the download as such. Okay, now it is important to understand where exactly this has got downloaded. Now if I search over here in my downloads folder, that is the Apache, you can see that there is a versions of different versions of Apache that I have specifically got downloaded, and this has been present in my downloads folder. Okay, that's the reason you could see that this particular, when I had run mvn hyphen version, it was picking up from particular Apache Maven, that is downloads folder. Now once you have got downloaded this particular file, you need to zip it, or you have to unzip these files, and you have to try to retrieve the exact location of the Apache Maven. And once you have understood where exactly is your Apache Maven, you have to search for environment again, which we had done in our step number 2. That is, we try to search the edit system variables, that is environment variables, and this particular window opens up, system properties. Now in this system properties, there is a folder, there is a button which is environment variables. I'll just click on that, and you'll be able to see that there are environment variables and the system variables. Okay, now for the environment variables, we have to set up a path. I'll just double click on this path, and you can see that I have specified a particular path over here, which is percentage maven underscore home percentage backslash bin. Okay, you need to specify this particular path exactly as it is appearing over here, otherwise you will not be able to map the Maven into your local machine. Okay, similar to what we had done in our step number 2, setting up Java as well. Now this is the path. Once you have specified this particular path in the environment variable, you need to specify the system variable. Okay, so system variable, what I have done is, if I go to system variable Maven home, okay, I have created this particular system variable specifically. So I just clicked on new, and I created a variable name, that is Maven underscore home, and provided the variable value. Now what I did is I provided the Maven underscore home as a variable name, and I provided the path exactly where the Apache Maven is present. Okay, now you can see that this is the downloads folder where exactly it had got downloaded. So I'm not installing Maven anywhere. Okay, similar uh, in the step number 2, we had done is we had specifically installed Java, but here we are not installing Maven. We are only mapping a Maven to a particular system variable. Okay, so once you have set up the Maven underscore home and you have provided the path, as you can see that the Maven underscore home variable is exactly similar to what we had specified in the environment variable as well. So if I go to path, I had already specified Maven underscore as a bin. So that is the mapping that I'm doing in my environment variable and the system variable. Okay, once you have set up this, what you need to do is you need to go back to your command prompt and run your mvn-version, and what you will be able to get is Apache Maven 3.9.1. That means your Maven is also set up in your machine. So we are done with our step number 2 as well, step number 3 as well, which is verify Maven and then setting up the system environment. So we installed Intellij, and then we have set up Java as well in our machine. We have set up Maven also in our machine. Now let's proceed with step number 4. Alright, let's now proceed with step number 1, which is installation of node in the machine. Now before verifying whether you really require to install node in your machine or not, what we have to do is in your machine, look for command prompt. So I'll just type here as command prompt, and this particular window will get opened up. Once the command prompt opens up, what you can do is you can just type a command over here, which is node hyphen hyphen version and press enter on your keyboard. If you do not have node in your machine, which will be most probably in your case, you will not be able to see something like this, which is version 18 point something or any other version. Now, if you are not able to see any other versions over here, that means you do not have node in your machine. Okay, so that's the reason you will have to install Node.js in your machine. So how do we do that? Is we can go to Google Chrome and just type over here as Node.js download. You will be able to see this particular link, which is download Node.js. You can just click on the link, and based on your operating system that you have, you can install the Node.js in your machine. So I'll just click on Windows. The moment I do that, you can see that the download has happened. So you'll be able to see that there is a Node.js .exe file that which has got downloaded. So if you double click on your downloadable file, you will be able to see something like this, and you'll be able to go ahead with your installation of Node.js. So you can just click on next and then accept the terms, click on next, and it will give you a default path in your machine. You can click on next and you can select these appropriate ones and click on next. Now, once you do that, you will get a successful message that the node has been installed in your machine. Now, with the node, what really happens is you also get a node package manager, which is also called as npm. Okay, now, once this particular message comes for you, because I have already installed Node, I will not proceed, but I will request you to proceed with this particular step of clicking next and getting a message of Node.js is really installed in your machine successfully. All right. Now, once that is done, what you can do is you can go to command prompt again and then type over here as node hyphen hyphen version, and this time around you can see that the version 18 or whatever version you have downloaded, the latest one, you'll be able to see that number coming over here. Apart from that, you will be able to check whether there is npm in your machine. Now what you can do for that is you can type npm and then you can put hyphen version and then press enter on your keyboard, and you will get a version for you as soon as you have installed node in your machine. All right, so these are the two important steps that we have to really do, and as part of this, what we have done is step number one we have done, as well as step number two, that is verify node is installed in your machine, is also done. All right, now that we have checked Node in our machine and we have installed Node and npm in our machine, let's use Node to install Appium. Okay, so in order to install Appium, let's run a command over here, which is npm install -g Appium and press enter on our keyboard. Now, what's happening in the background is you can see that using npm, we are installing Appium in our server. Okay, so this is the first time Appium is getting installed in this machine. That's why it might take time to install as such. So once that is completed, let's run a couple of commands to verify that Appium has really got installed in our machine or not. All right, so we got a message over here, added 439 packages in 31 seconds. What it means is it has not errored out, okay, which is a good sign that Appium at least has got installed in our machine. Now, in order to check whether Appium is really got installed in our machine, there is another command for that. So what we can do is Appium -v. Okay, and press enter on your keyboard, and then you will be able to see that you are getting a version over here which is 2.5.1, which is a good sign. So there is an Appium version 2.5.1 which is installed in this machine now. Now, in order to run Appium server as such, what we will do is we will just type here as Appium and then press enter on my keyboard. Now, the moment I do that, you can see that there is a message that has come that welcome to Appium, and it's given kind of an indication that it has auto detected Appium at a particular path, which is at a C drive. And you might have noticed one particular peculiarity about Appium this time, and this is related to port. Okay, so there is an IP URL over here which is being shown over here, But having said that, it ends with a port which is 4723. Now, this is a very important question, probably one of the interviewers might ask is, what is a default port that APM generally takes? So 4723 is one of the default port that APM takes, and that's what is being shown over here as well. So we are able to start our APM server as such. Now we can use APM driver as well. That is what has been mentioned. Now no drivers have been installed. Use the APM driver command to install the one. We will do that, we will subsequently, but having said that, we need to connect a mobile to our machine. Okay, so we will use a USB cable to connect our mobile to the USB, using USB to our machine, and we will use another tool called Vysor tool, which we will download and install in our machine as well, so that we can use our mobile and and at least check what we can test in our mobile assets. So let's do that next. All right, now in this particular section, what we will try to do is we will try to install platform tools and try to connect our device. Okay, so in the last section, what we did is we were able to download and install APM, and we were able to start the APM server. But in this particular section, let's try to install platform tools for Android SDK. Now, what I will do is I'll go to Google and I'll just type here as Android platform tools, and the first thing that I get over here is Android developers. Now I'll just click on this SDK platform tools, and once I scroll down, you can see that there are some downloads over here, and this is particular Windows machine. So what I will do is I'll just click on this particular download SDK platform tools for Windows. So I'll just click on it and I'll accept the terms, and I'll click on download Android SDK. Now once the download is completed, which happens to be in the latest download folders as such in my machine. I'll just right click, open, and this is the folder that has been opened up, which is a platform tool specific. Now what I will do is, once I have extracted the platform tools in my machine at the downloads folder, I'll just copy it and then go to C drive, and in the C drive I'll move to program files, and over here I'll paste this platform tools. Right click, paste this platform tools, and it will just ask for administrator. So one important point is that when, if you have to move any folder into your C drive, you will require to have administrator. So hoping that you have administrator rights, kindly paste this particular folder here into platform tools. Okay, now once you get this platform tools, copy this, and after you copy this one, you will have to find your edit environment variables. So once the system properties are opened up, you can click on environment variables. So system properties will open up. Now you will have a section called environment variables. You need to click on the environment variables. And over here in the environment variables, there are a couple of sections over here. Now you need to head on to system variables. Okay. And in system variables, there is a variable called as path. Now you can click on the path and then you can click on edit. And once you click on edit environment variables, okay, so this section will open up. Now you can add on, click new, and then paste the path over here, which we had copied earlier, which is C program files platform tools. Now click on OK. And once you click on OK, and you will have to close this environment variables as well and click on OK. And what it might happen in the background is the environment variables will get synced up with your platform variables. Okay, now what you need to do is, just to verify that this has really worked, you can type command prompt over here and then right click, run as administrator, and this particular command prompt will open up. Now administrator command prompt, once it's open up, you will be able to see a default path over here, which is C drive Windows System 32. Now over here we will run a particular command called adb and then hyphen or space, we will type devices and then press enter. Okay, so what has happened is, now at least our machine is able to identify that there is an Android SDK set up in this particular machine. That's the reason it is able to identify that that is this machine is ready to accept any other Android phones or devices as such which can be attached to this particular machine and then particular run it. Okay. Now, if we would not have set up the platform tools over here in our C drive and we did not set up the path variable in the environment variable, then it would have shown a particular message over here that it's not able to identify the ADB as an unknown command as such. Okay, so this is very important step when you are doing APM specifically. You need to have ADB running in your machine, and that's one of the important steps. Okay. Now, in the next section, what we'll do is we will try to use a particular tool called Vysor, and Vysor is a tool, an application which connects your phones to your desktop as such, and using whatever in your phones, then you will be able to identify that whatever you are doing in the phone, it will be visible in your desktop. So this is an optional step that you install Vysor, but if but I am doing this because I want to show what I'm actually doing in my mobile phone. That's the reason I am going to install Vysor as such. All right. Now that we have installed platform tools in our machine, what I'll do is I'll go to Google and just type over here as Vysor download. Okay. And Vysor is one of the applications which connects your phone to your machine as such, or your laptop or your desktop, whatever it is. And you can go to Vysor downloads, and there are options over here based on your operating system. Now, in for demonstration purposes, I'm using a Windows machine. Okay, so you can click on Windows and get it downloaded in your machine as such. And once you download and install Vysor application, what you can do is you can just type over here as Vysor, and this particular app will open up. Okay, so this particular app will try to detect any Android devices or iOS devices in your machine that is get connected. But if it is not able to identify, or you have not connected your device, something like this will appear for the first time. Okay, no Android devices are connected or detected as such, and even iOS devices are not detected. So machine itself is not able to identify whether your mobile phone is really connected or not. So what I will do here, and the next step, I will show the steps how to connect your phone, as well as how to use a USB cable in your phone so that it gets detected in Vysor as such. All right, so in the last section, we had installed the platform tools as such, and then we ran a particular command which is ADB devices, and the list of devices attached is appearing over here, and none of the devices are attached yet. Okay, so in this particular section, what we'll be looking at is the phone that I'm going to use in this particular video. Okay, so most of my students or most of my viewers, they ask like what device have you attached for doing this APM testing. So just to give a clarification on that is I'm using a Oppo Android phone. Okay, and that Oppo Android phone is specifically Oppo Find X3 Pro. That is the version of the phone that I'm using. But having said that, the Android version is 11. Okay, and this is the ratio and the aspects of this particular mobile phone as such. Now the reason I'm showing this is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Android phone to do our APM testing as such. We are going to use a real device. We will connect to the machine, and then we will use that machine to device to do our app testing as such. Okay, so Android 11 is being used, and the mobile phone that we are using is Oppo Find X3 Pro as such. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll connect the phone using the USB cable. Okay, so you get a USB cable along with your phone, and I'm just connecting that USB cable to this particular machine and this particular laptop as such. So the moment I connect this, after connection, if I go to command prompt and then I type here as ADB devices, which I have already done previously. So I'll just type it again and then press enter on my keyboard. You can see that a list of devices attached is again it is showing as that no devices are attached to this particular machine. Okay, now why this has happened is I'll give you an instruction related to this. Is that your phone will have a settings. Okay, phone settings will be your phone will have particular settings. Over there you have to enable the USB debugging. Okay, and I'll show that how you can do that. So what I will do is I'll go to Vysor and then I'll click on the Vysor app as such. Okay, and even the Vysor app is showing that no phone is attached, or it might happen that you don't have ADB in your machine. So we are sure ADB is already configured in our machine, and even ADB drivers are set up. Okay, we have installed it, we have done all the settings, but currently the phone that I've attached to the machine itself does not have USB enabled. Okay, so what I will do, I'll go to physically in my phone, and once I go in the phone, I'll select as settings and I'll go to additional settings, and over here there is a developer options. Now if you are not able to see developer options, what I will request you to do is go to about phone. So in the phone, in the settings, you will get an option about phone, and once you click on about phone, there will be a version, and within the version you have to click on version 7 times. Okay, once you click on version 7 times, then your phone will become a developer options phone. Okay, now you have to do this only once, and if you try to do it second time, that it will show that you are already in developer options. Okay, now I will do this in my phone currently, and after that I will get the developer options. Okay, so now I have got developer options in my phone, and once I get the developer options, what I will do is in the developer options there will be a section called USB debugging. I will just enable it. So once I enable it, then so once I do that, you can see that there is Android device list coming over here in Vysor. Okay, Android devices, and I'll come to command prompt and I'll just type ADB devices again and press enter on my keyboard, and you can see that now one particular device is appearing over here. Now it's showing as unauthorized because there is a pop-up coming in my phone that whether do you want to allow the USB debugging, and I'll click on allow, and the moment I do that, you can see now if I press ADB and ADB devices again, you can see that there is no unauthorized, it is showing as device. Now what I will request you to do, okay, in case you are finding any issues over here while connecting to this particular device, I will request you to remove the USB again and then try to connect the USB device again after you have set up your developer options as well as you have set up your USB debugging mode enabled as such. Okay. Now what I will do is I'll click on this view device within the Vysor, and I'll show you what all steps I really did. Okay, so that it's clearer and it does not create any problem as such. So this is the device that I have set up. Okay, so I'll just expand this and I'll show you. I'll click on home and then I'll click on this particular section. I'll go back and I'll show you. I'll go to home, and after here there is one particular section or one particular app which is settings. Okay, so I'll just go to settings over here and click on settings, and once I go into the settings there is something called as about phone, and I clicked on this particular version 7 times. Okay, so once I click on 7 times, what really happens is you will get a message over here that you are a developer. Okay, now because I have already done that, that's the reason I am not getting it. But what I'll request you to do is like click on 7 times, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and after that you will get a message over here that you'll get a message that you are a developer as such. Okay, so I'll go back to my phone, and then once you are in the developer mode, what you are required to do is you are required to click on additional settings. Okay, now once I click on additional settings, I'll get a section over here which is developer options. Now I'll just click on developer options, and once I go into developer options, I'll scroll down and you can see that there is a section here which is USB debugging. Okay, now I have enabled it. The moment I enable it, it's like USB debugging will start with the phone, and that's why we are able to connect to our machine as such. Okay, now this is the whole step to connect your phone to your machine. Connect your phone to your machine as such, and now, most of my viewers ask, hey, how do you set up in different phones altogether? Now, as long as you have Android phone, this is how you will particularly look forward to set connect your phone to your machine. Okay, so you have to go to settings as such, and then you have to make it as a developer options. And once your developer options are set up, you will have to come to USB debugging and enable this USB debugging and connect to your phone as such. Okay, these are the steps that you have to perform to enable your phone connection to your computer as such. Hope it makes sense. Now, once we have connected your phone to your machine, it makes sense that you will be able to proceed with the APM testing on this phone. So let's do that next. All right, now that we have got our mobile connected to our machine, that is our laptop or our desktop, and we are able to get our ADB devices working as well when we run this command in the command prompt. The next step is to understand the capabilities of our mobile device, okay, and the app that we are trying to automate. Now, I'll explain how this is very important because these are the capabilities that we are very much interested to understand about in our mobile app. Okay, so when we open up our mobile, as in if we open up our mobile and we look at our settings as such, all right, now there are some things that we are very much interested. As I said, these are the capabilities. Okay, so we have to understand what is the device name of our mobile, what is a UDID, the platform name, and the platform version. Okay, so this particular section is important. That's the first set, and the second set is the app package as well as app activity. Okay, that is also very important before we start with our APM testing. APM, we have to do the mobile app testing. All right, so for the device name, what is important for us to understand is if we go to the settings of the mobile, we will be able to go to about phone. So I'll click on the about phone, and there is a device name over here. Okay, now this is customizable. As we understand, you can change the device name as well. Now if you happen to click on this, you can change your device name, but please make sure whatever device name is the current device name, that you have to make a note of it. Okay, so currently the device name is Oppo Find X3 Pro. That's the device name, and I will make a note of it. Okay, the second thing which is important is a UDID. So what is a UDID is if you go to our command prompt and if you run the ADB devices over here, you'll be able to see this particular number. Okay, 4D897317. So this is the UDID or the device number as such. Okay, which is important as well because we have to provide these details in our scripts. Okay, before launching our application as such. The platform name is also important. Now the platform name is what we have to provide in our which we have in our mobile as such as well. So if you scroll down, platform name is the Android, that is capital A Android, and the platform version is the Android version that we have. So we have already seen the Android version in our mobile app, which is 11 version, okay, and which we have to enter in our capabilities section of the script. So these four parameters are very important. Uh, and we have to set these capabilities in the script before we start. Apart from that, what we have to understand is the app package as well as app activity. Okay, now the application that we are trying to automate here is Uber. Okay, and we will have to find this app package. So app that we have to use in this case, which is called as app info. Okay, so what I have done here is I have gone to Google Play Store. So I have tried to find Google Play Store in my mobile app as such, and once I go to Google Play Store, what I can search here is app APK info. Okay, so I have searched for APK info and I have downloaded this in my mobile app and mobile as such. And once I click on open, I can see that I can search for different applications or app in my phone, and the app that we are interested is Uber, and I clicked on it, and you can see that there is an app details section which comes for Uber, and the first thing which appears over here is com.ubercab. Okay, so com.ubercab is our app package. Okay, now the application that you will try to um, automate, right? That needs to be your app package. Okay, now if I would have selected some other application like reddit.com, you can see over here com.reddit.front page. Okay, so that's the app package, but we are interested in Uber. That's the reason I'll take app package as com.ubercab. Okay, apart from that, what we are interested is app activity. Now if I scroll down, there is an activities section in this app. So if I click on this, you can see there are 147 activities for this particular app. Now there are different activities. Now some of my viewers ask, hey, how do I understand what is the activity that I need to really select in order to launch my application? Okay, so most probably it will be the first activity. Okay, so here you can see com.ubercab.presidio.app.core.root activity. Okay, now it might be main activity in your case, or whatever app you are trying to automate. It depends on that how they have really named your activity. Okay, so I have got the device name, I have got the UDID, I have got the platform name, I have got the platform version, I have got the app package, as well as I have got the app activity. Now we will try to change our app activity as well as and when we are testing this. But let's start with this first activity, that is root activity in case of UberCab, so that we understand, okay, let's try to launch this application, and then we will slowly steadily try to move on to other activities as such, and see how we go with it. So that was my main aspect of it. In this particular section, I wanted to give an idea about what are the capabilities, try to understand what are your capabilities first, so that you understand this is very much required before you try to go into scripts first of all. Okay, so once you have this details, let's move on to the scripting part of it, creating the new project specifically for Appium. All right, now that we have got our mobile attached to our machine, and we have understood some of the capabilities as well that we wanted, these parameters of the capabilities, we have tried to understand these are the capabilities. Now let's try to create the project. Okay, so for that, what we'll do is I'll go to Intellij and click on Intellij. That is our IDE integrated development environment that we want to use. I'll click on new project. Okay, so the moment on I click on new project, this is what will open up, and I'll try to create a new project which will be Appium tests, and that I'll name it as Android test, and I'll select a location over here. By default, there is a location which is idea projects as such, which is under C drive, and it has created another directory which is Appium Android test as such. So it will be named as our project name, and I've selected Java over here and a Maven. Okay, and I've selected a JDK over here. Okay, so if you're not able to see JDK version by default over here, what you can do is you can click on this particular section and then click on add JDK, and then you can try to go to program files and then go to Java. Under Java there will be JDK-11. Okay, so you will have to map your JDK version so that it appears over here, and it will automatically detect your Java development kit in your machine. Okay, which is very important step in order to proceed, because Appium runs on Java. That's the reason we have to select this particular Java development kit specifically, and because I've already selected over here, that's why I am going to proceed with it. Okay, now I can add a sample code. I'll click on create, and the moment I click on create, a new project will get created, which is Appium Android test. Okay, so this is a Maven project as such, and we just have named our project as such. We have not added any dependencies. Now we will have to add dependencies of Java Selenium as well as Appium. For that, what we will do is we'll go to Google, a new tab in Google, and over here we will search as Maven repository. Okay, so Maven repository as such is a by default it contains all the repositories that we want to add the dependencies from perspective. Now what we'll search here is Selenium Java, and press enter on our keyboard, and this is the first link that we'll get. Okay, so I'll just click on Selenium Java, and there is a version of 4 which is the latest version. So now what I'll do is I'll select a 14.8 4.18.1 version, and I'll select this particular dependency and then copy this and come back to my project as such, and then add a tag over here which is dependencies, and then I'll just copy this particular dependency which is Selenium Java. The moment I copy over here, you can see that there is a Maven load Maven changes over here. I'll just click on it so that this particular dependency gets synced up with my project as such. All right. Now, the moment I have clicked on load Maven dependency, you can see that there was an indexing happening as such, and it will take a little bit of time. After that, our dependency will get added. Okay, apart from that, what we are interested is we are interested to get another repository which is another dependency which is Appium. Okay, so I'll just search over here as Appium, and the first thing that you get is Java client. I'll just click on it, and there are versions of 9.2, 9.1. I'll just go with 9.1 version, and I'll just copy this one and come back to my project and then paste this dependency over here. All right, I'll just click on load Maven changes, which is downloading the dependencies as such, and it will get synced up. So currently our project is ready to work with Appium as well as Selenium. Both dependencies have been added, and let's try to create the test related to give the other parameters that we want to set up for our test. All right, now in this particular section, we'll be looking at Appium drivers. And this is again is an important step that we have to perform before we use Appium scripts in our automation scripts. Okay. Now, there are some YouTube courses or videos present which does not give this particular idea about Appium drivers. And please note, if you do not install Appium drivers in your machine, then you will not be able to proceed with Appium automation scripts. Okay, even though you write Appium scripts, you will not be able to proceed because drivers installing drivers is an important step. Okay, now I will prove this with this particular Appium documentation, and you can have a look here as well. This is the Appium documentation which mentions about Appium drivers, which exclusively states about this particular statement, which is you can't use Appium without at least one driver. So you need to have at least one driver of Appium so that at least Appium scripts run in your machine. Okay, you will be able to script it, but when you are trying to run it, it will probably fail and is looking for a particular driver. Now it is given kind of a list of official drivers as well, this documentation, and as you can see there are different drivers over here, but the one which we are interested is this particular driver which is UI Automator 2. Now the reason I am selecting this particular driver which is UI Automator 2 is because the platform it supports is Android. Okay, and it has a mode of native, hybrid as well as web. Okay, so even if you are trying to automate in your mobile related to web, okay, you are using Safari or some kind of Safari or Google Chrome using your mobile app, or you could use an app as such. In both cases you can use this particular driver which is UI Automator 2. Okay, so that's the reason I'm going to select this. Now in order to install UI Automator 2 in your machine, what you have to do is you have to open command prompt in the administrator mode, because we are going to install something. So if in order to install, you will have to open it in the administrator mode, And after you come here in the command prompt, you will have to enter this particular command, which is Appium driver install, and then installation key. So the installation key is this particular column, and the installation key that we are interested is UI Automator 2. So what I will do is I'll just enter this command, which is drive Appium driver install UI Automator 2, and then I'll press enter on my keyboard. Now I have got an error over here that a driver named UI Automator 2 is already installed. What it means is that I have already performed this particular step previously, but you won't get this particular message if you have not got driver installed and you are installing it for the first time. Okay, it will take time little bit. It will look for the locations where it needs to install your driver specifically, and you will get a green tick. As long as your driver is installed correctly, you will get a green tick, and then you will be able to run a command to see whether what are the installed drivers. Okay, so because I have already installed UI Automator 2 in my machine, what I'll do is I'll just run this particular command, which is Appium driver list hyphen hyphen installed. Okay, and I'll press enter on my keyboard. So you can see that there are a couple of drivers that I have already installed, which is Windows as well as UI Automator. Now Windows is another driver which can be used to automate the Windows apps, which is specifically related to Windows. But UI Automator 2 is also appearing because I have successfully installed that. So once you have successfully installed Appium driver using this particular command, which is Appium driver install UI Automator 2, and you get a green tick. And one after that, you run this particular command, which is Appium driver list hyphen hyphen installed. You should be able to get something like this UI Automator 2, and you should get installed probably an npm message, so that you understand, okay, fine, this driver is successfully installed in my machine, and then you can proceed with the next step. So let's do that and then proceed with the next section. All right, now that we have installed UI Automator 2 in our machine, and that's the Appium driver that we are using. If you happen to click on the UI Automator 2 link as such, you will be led to a particular GitHub page, okay, which explains about what is a Appium UI Automator 2 driver. And you need not go through the whole list as such, but you can, if you have time, you can probably go through the list as well. What does Appium UI Automator 2 driver really does? And even Appium as a community has advised that it has a very good documentation as such, and you will be able to understand how to set up your machine specifically for this driver, okay, when you are doing the mobile automation test tool specifically. Now this is a very good documentation, but having said that, I'll just quickly give a rundown of it, that what you will have to specifically do if you want to do a mobile app testing specifically for Android. Okay, so the requirement itself shows that you will require to have some kind of operating system, which is Windows, Linux, or Mac OS, and you will require to have an Android SDK platforms. Okay, so you will require a platform tool, which I'll be subsequently doing in the next step. Apart from that, you will have to do Android Home or Android SDK root. Okay, so even this step I will show subsequently in the future section in this particular video. And this step we have already done, that we have installed Java JDK, and then we have set up the Java underscore home path as well in our environment variables, and real Android device. So this particular step also we have done, which is that we have set up a Android device. We have decided, okay, this is a mobile device that we will be using, and we have made sure that the USB debugging should be enabled. Okay, so just to give a recap, we have this OS, which is Windows. We have to do Android installation. That what I meant by that is like Android SDK platform installation. We have to set up Android underscore home. We have already done Java JDK, and we have already done the real Android. Okay, so either you will go with the real Android device or you will go with emulator, either of that. So we have chosen real Android device specifically for this video. So these steps we have to do. Apart from that, it's giving an idea about doctor. Okay, so some of my viewers or students were mentioning over what is an APM doctor. So APM doctor is a very good tool which gives you an understanding about what is wrong with your APM or APM driver as such, and it gives an understanding. Okay, if there is a problem with it, APM doctor will kind of help us with certain commands of APM doctor. Okay, so this is a choice with you. You can go ahead with installing APM driver doctor, and probably I can go ahead and already install it. So I'll go back to my command prompt and I'll run this particular command, which is APM driver doctor UI automator 2. Now, in my personal experience, this is an optional step, but it may definitely help you to understand if there is a problem with your APM access. So okay, apart from this, what is important for APM UI automated to driver perspective is there are different capabilities. So we have already looked on some of the capabilities from APM driver perspective or capabilities before we start with APM, so that we understand, okay, this is what we will have to set up in our automation scripts. So first is the platform name. We have already decided the platform name will be Android, which we have already seen earlier. So it could be set as Android. APM itself is not strict about this, but capability value if automation name. Okay. Another capability, the second capability mentioned in this documentation is about automation name. Okay, so this is a good step. We have not looked from automation name capability perspective, so we will have to get that added in our list. So I'll go back and get this added in my list as well. So I have added automation name as well as a capability in my list. Okay, apart from the six capabilities which we have looked, I have added automation name as well because that is required for our UI Automator 2 driver as such. Okay, so I'll go back to the documentation. So I have added automation name, and what it is showing is must always be set as UI Automator 2. So this is a very important statement that you will have to set up automation name as UI Automator 2. Device name. Okay, so device name we have already seen, that's the UDID. Platform version is the 11 version that we have already seen, and UDID we have already seen, and there are couple of other capabilities as well, which is no reset and full reset. So we will look at the no reset and full reset when we are scripting. At least these two capabilities will get it added when we are scripting. Okay, so these are the capabilities as per the documentation of UI Automator driver that we have to understand before we start scripting. So that is the point that I want to touch base before we move on to the next section. So let's proceed. Alright, so in this section, what we'll do is we will try to install Android SDK platforms tool. Okay, so what we will do is we will probably click on Android SDK platforms tool, and the moment we click it, you'll land on this particular page. Okay, you will get SDK platform tools release notes as well as downloads. So what I would suggest is click on this download SDK platforms, and you will get the terms and conditions option, and then you can click on I have read and agreed and click on download and Android SDK platform tools for Windows. Okay, so the moment you do that, download will start, and what I will request you to do is kindly install that once it is downloaded, and kindly proceed with the steps that is required. So once you have downloaded as well as installed, you will get an option like this, that is Android Studio setup, and it will look for a particular location within your machine. Okay, so in my case, what it has done is it has got installed in a location of C drive program files Android Studio, and you have successfully installed Android Studio. Kindly open that up. So I'll just go into my machine, and then I'll look for Android Studio, and then I'll open up this particular app as such. Okay, so something like this will open up, which is Android Studio. Now we are not going to develop a mobile app as such, but why we wanted to install Android Studio specifically was, if I go to more options, okay, you have an option of SDK manager. So you can click on SDK manager, and once you click on the SDK manager, you will be able to see that it will give a location where exactly is your SDK. Okay, so this is the position where, or location, or a path you would say, where exactly your Android SDK has been installed. Okay, so there is a location which is C users, ACE AU, app data, local, Android, and SDK. So in your case, the whatever will be your username in your machine, that will be replaced by this, and then the whole path will remain the same. Okay, so this is an important path that you will have to make a note of, because this is what you will have to set up in the Android underscore home step as well. If you remember that we had gone to this step wherein it was requesting for Android underscore home setup, we will do that as well once you have installed Android Studio along with your SDK. Okay, so I'll go to C drive, and then if I go to users, if I go to AU, if I go to app data, and if I go to local, there is a particular folder which is SDK. This is very important for us to understand whether SDK is really installed in our machine or not. Now, if you click on this SDK, you might have noticed one particular folder which is platform hyphen tools. Okay, so we had already copied this platform hyphen tools previously to map our mobile phone with our machine. Okay, so at that time we had just copied the folder and then tried to use it, but this time around we have specifically installed Android SDK so that we can set up our Android underscore home in our environment variables. So once you have got this location which is SDK, kindly copy this and let's use it in our environment variable setup in the next step. Alright, so in the last section, what we did is we were able to install Android SDK platform tools, as this particular step is done. Now what we will try to focus is we will try to set up Android underscore home in our environment variables. Okay, so for that, what we have to do, path which is C drive users is AU app data local Android SDK. We will just copy this particular path, and then once we copy the path, let's search the environment variable. So I'll just come to search in of this particular machine, and we'll be able to see that edit environment variables for your account. So I'll just click on this, and the moment I click on this, we will be able to see the environment variables what we have been doing previously. Okay, so what I have done here is I have already added Android underscore home, as you can see over here. So what I will request you to do is you need to create a system variable. Okay, in Android underscore home. So what I've done is you can click on new, and then you can provide the variable name, that is Android underscore home, and then you can enter the path which we had copied with relation to SDK, and then once you do that, you can click on OK. Alright, so once you do that, a new system variable has got added over here, as you can see, which is Android SDK. Now, apart from that, what we have to do is we have to come to this particular section of user variables for your user. Okay, and this is under environment variable. There is a path. Okay, variable path. Now you click on it and then click on edit. And once you click on edit, this edit environment variable section will open up. Okay, now you have to enter three parameters over here, that is percentage Android underscore home percentage. That's one of the values. The second value is percentage Android underscore home percentage backslash platform hyphen tools. And the third one that you have to add over here, which is an environment variable, is percentage Android underscore home percentage backslash tools. Okay, so all three have to be added. And apart from that, what I have done is I have added the Android SDK path as well over here. Okay, so all four variables you have to add it over here and then click on OK, and then click on OK again, and make sure that you click on apply if there are some changes over here, because we have made changes in the environment variable, and if this is enabled, kindly click on apply, or else you can click on OK. You might require to start your machine or start your laptop as such, and then you can come back and then make sure that it is already present, okay, in the environment variable. Sometimes it requires to be restarted, and some cases it does not require to be restarted as such. All right, so that is how we set up the Android underscore home variable as such, and that's all the requirements we have set up. So we have done the Windows, we have the Windows OS, we have the Android SDK platforms, we have set up the Android underscore home, Java JDK is also done, and we do have real Android devices as well. So in the next section, what we will be doing is we will, because we had created a project or a very small project as such in the Appium, and we had added a couple of dependencies, we will start adding a test over there which will try to launch our mobile app in our phone real device as such. So let's do that in the next section. All right. Now that we have understood about capabilities, and we have already set up our Android underscore home, and we have tried to understand what we need to do specifically do with Appium. We have installed Appium drivers, and then we have made sure that now is the time to create the project as such. Okay. Now for creating project, we have already created a project and we had added a couple of dependencies over here. One was the Selenium Java and then Appium, which is a Java client. Okay. Now what we will do is we will create some test. So under source folder, which we had created an Appium Android test, there is a couple of folders over here, which is main as well as test. Okay. And inside test, there is a folder called Java. Now we will create the test inside this Java folder, and inside the Java folder we will name our class file. Okay, so what we will do is once we reach Java folder, we have to right click and then select as new and then Java class, and over here we will have to select as an app test that we are doing. Okay, so what we are doing is we are going to launch an app. Okay, so I'll just name this as app test and then press enter on my keyboard. So as soon as I do that, my class has got created. Okay, so class inside Java as such. Now over here what we will do is we will create a couple of methods over here, and one method is public static main method. Okay, so we will name this as main method, and then we will pass an argument over here which is string array function, which is arg, and then we'll open and close the bracket. Okay, and we'll give this as void as well. So we have created this main, and the reason I created this main method as such is that we will try to run the test from here. Okay, so before writing the test itself, the first thing that we have to do is we have to launch our app. Okay, now in order to launch our app, we have to provide the details, that is the capabilities related to the app. Okay, so I'll create one more method here which is public static void and then open app, that is open mobile app, and then open and close the bracket. So we have two methods over here. Okay, so first one is public static void main, and then second one is public static void open mobile app. Now over here we will pass the details like desired capabilities. Okay, so I'll just enter the details like desired capabilities cap, and then we will name as new desired capabilities and end the statement. So we have declared an object over here which is a cap, which is a capabilities. Okay, now this is very important step because these capabilities are the ones which we have already discussed. So I'll just pass the details as cap, then set capability, and over here we had already seen a capability which is device name. Okay, so that is the first capability that will be sending across, and then I will open and close double quotes over here. So you can see that set capability by default contains two arguments over here. One is a capability name and another is value. Now we are providing the details like this, the capability name which is device name. Now I'll just copy this and then paste it 5 times, and I'll change the capability names as such. So the second one that I wanted to send across is UDID. The third one which I wanted to send across is platform name. The fourth one what I wanted to send is automation name. And the fifth one that I wanted to send across was app package. The sixth one I wanted to send across was app activity. And below platform name, I'll provide the details of platform version as well. So if we look at what we had seen earlier, it exactly matches with the capabilities that we discussed earlier. So device name, UDID, platform version, automation name, app package, and app activity. Okay. Now please note this is a camel casing. Okay, device name exactly has to match. That's the reason I have made sure all are camel casing. And this is what is important. If you miss kind of camel casing, or if you put a small letters over here or capital letters, it might not be able to identify the mobile app that we really want to launch. Okay, so that is very important. Now what I will do is I'll go to my app. So I have opened up Vysor and I'm looking at my app. I'll go to settings, and over here what I'll do is I'll come back to about phone. Okay, in the about phone there is a device name already, which we have already seen. So if you're able to see over here, the device name is Oppo Find X3 Pro. Okay, so this is what exactly I will enter over here, which is Oppo Find X3 Pro. Now please note that if you have a different Android phone, it really doesn't matter. You just have to go to about phone in your settings, and then you have to match exactly what's your device name. Okay, so even if you have a different Android phone, you have to find out the device name. Okay, it will be a different device name if you are using a Redmi, or if you are using some other Google phone. Then also you can go to the device name and put the device name exactly what is appearing on your mobile phone. Okay, that is what I wanted to make a disclaimer, because what happens is when the students or the viewers go through this particular course, what they say is, okay, can I test with other mobile phone which is an Android phone? Of course you can. Make sure your device name is correctly mapped, or at least written in your scripts, so that your scripts can identify, okay, this is the mobile phone that you are looking for once it's connected to your machine. Okay, apart from that, UDID. Okay, so UDID was something, if I go to command prompt and if I press as ADB devices, I get the UDID over here 4D897317. So I'll just enter that. And the platform name. Okay, so platform name is Android, which we had already seen. Platform version is 11. How do I come to know about it? Is if you go to settings and about phone, you will be able to see the Android version, which is 11. Okay, the automation name is UI Automator 2. So I'll just provide here is UI Automator 2. And the app package. Okay, now this is very important and I'll explain you why. So if I go back here, app package is what we had already seen. Okay, so last time we had seen the app package, there is a app that we had used, which is app info k. Okay, now the first thing that we will do is we will try to launch an Uber app as such. Okay, so I'll just search here as Uber. Now I'll search here specifically and scroll down, and then I'll look for this particular app details. Okay, so com.ubercab. So I'll just enter here com.ubercab, and then I'll provide the app activity name. So if I go back in the app details, I'll scroll down. I'm looking for activity, and what we looked at was this particular root activity was our name. Okay, so I'll just probably type it over here, com dot uber cab dot presidio dot app dot core dot root activity. All right, now I provided these details. Now this is what is important is we will have to declare a variable and a URL. Okay, so what I will have to provide the URL was that I'll have to declare here as URL, and then what is the URL that we want to provide is new URL with the double quotes, that is http : //127.0.0.1 and then 4723. So that's the port that we want to really supply, and then / and ending with a semicolon. Alright, so I'll do an import class, and it will look for URL java.net, which I will import. And once I do that, it's asking for an add exception. So I'll just click on add, and you can see that there is an exception added as well. Now I will declare a driver. Okay, now driver equal to new Appium driver, because we have already provided the libraries of Appium URL comma cap. So in the Appium driver, we are passing couple of arguments over here. One is URL as well as capabilities. Okay, so we have set the capabilities, and we are passing these capabilities as well as URL in this Appium driver. Okay, now the driver is giving an error. Now it's not able to identify what exactly is this particular driver. So we will have to declare a driver over here, which I'll declare outside the class, inside the class. So if I provide static Appium driver and then ending with a semicolon. All right, now driver we have declared. Now what we have to do is we will provide the details of system.out.println, and then we will pass the details of application started. All right, now this is the declaration that we have done. Now please make sure that you are calling this open mobile app inside this void main, because what we will do is we will call this void main as if we are launching this browser, okay, or launching the app, mobile app as such. Now one thing which we have not done is, okay, let me try to add this exception and this error will go. Now what we have not done is we have not started the Appium server. Okay, so what I will have to do is I'll have to go to command prompt, and within the command prompt I will have to simply add a command over here, which is Appium, and then press enter on my keyboard. Now when I do that, you can see that my Appium server has started. Okay, and when my Appium server has started, you can see that there is a URL over here which is exactly matching with what we have entered over here. Okay, so it is creating a remote server as such, or remote URL as such, okay, which is understood by Appium driver. And with Appium driver, right, we are passing this URL inside the Appium driver. So that's why Appium driver will try to hit this particular URL, and it will try to open the app. Okay, now that's what we want to achieve in this particular session. Now we have entered this Appium driver details, and we have started our Appium server as well. We have written a small script which is to launch our application. Okay, and this is related to Uber app. So what I will do is I'll just open up my mobile app just next to it, and then come over here. Okay, I'll close the app. I'll come to home screen. Okay, nothing is opened yet, and let my mobile remain like this. If I go back and then try to run this particular main test, okay, so I'll try to run this, and I'll open up Vysor as well as command prompt as well. So program is running in the background. It has started. As you can see, something is happening, and Appium server is also running. So you can see something is running in the Appium server as such. And if I scroll up, what really has happened is it made some calls. Okay, so whatever you can see in the ADB, okay, and from here is our test starts. It's creating a session with the W3C capabilities, and then it's passing the capabilities here, and then it's starting its test, as in at least the server part of it, and then it's trying to launch the app. Okay, so it's identified the app as such, and it has done all this, and then it has started the app as such, and Uber app has opened up in our mobile app as such. Okay, which is good. So this is what we wanted. We have not added any test, but what we wanted to really perform is that we wanted to open the app. Now we will slightly change this. Okay, we will look at another app which is reddit.com. Okay, so what I will do is I'll go to I'll first cancel or close this server. Okay, disconnect the server. And after that, what I will do is I'll go to app info k, and from here I'll scroll down. I'll cancel this. I'll scroll down and look for reddit.com as an API app as such. Okay, so I'll just click on Reddit, and once I come to this app, you can see that the app name is com.reddit.frontpage. Okay, so what I will do is I'll come here and I will change this one, com.reddit. It has to match exactly same. Okay, reddit dot front page. And once I do that, I have to provide the details about my activity as well. Okay, so I'll scroll down and I'll look for an activity. And over here, the first activity is showing as session change activity. Okay, so this activity, I'm just trying to understand. Maybe this activity might be related to changing of a session, which we are not interested in. The second one is external auth activity, which also is not we are interested in. Welcome introduction activity. Maybe yes, maybe not. But once we come here as a main activity, so you can see over here com.reddit.launch.main.main activity. Okay, so this is an activity name. Now what I will do is I'll exactly match this activity name here in my automation scripts as such. Okay, so what I will do is I'll change this to com dot, and it has to exactly match. So it will be com.reddit.launch.main dot main activity. Okay, so that is my activity name. Now what I will do is I'll come back to my Vysor just to show that I'm going to home screen. Okay, so we have changed our app package as well as our app activity, and rest of the capabilities remain the same. Okay, the mobile phone remains the same, the device ID remains the same, the platform also remains the same, which is an Android. The platform version is 11, that is what we want. And in fact, UI Automator 2, which is our automation name, that is the driver that we have used. Okay, so only couple of things, app package and app activity has been changed. Now what I will do is I'll go back to my command prompt and I'll run here as Appium again and press enter on my keyboard, and the Appium server has started. Okay, once the Appium server has started, what I will do is I will run this particular test or run this particular method. Okay, and I'll launch my Vysor over here. Let's see what really happens. Now you can see a lot of commands are being run, and we have opened up Reddit uh, app as such in our phone, and then you can see that we have come to home screen of Reddit app. Okay, so this is what we wanted. So in one particular script, we could open Uber app as well, and we changed the app name as well as app activity name, and then we were able to launch or at least open up the Reddit app as well. Okay, so this is how we really launch the app. But having said that, this is not the actual test that we have performed. This is what we wanted to check whether we are really able to launch our app or not, which is a kind of a major milestone for us, which we have successfully done now, which feels good. Once we are able to launch this app, what we need to do is we need to inspect some of the elements. Right now, in if you have worked in Selenium, you might have understood what are element locators. Okay, similar to that concept, even Appium has tried to understand what are the aspects, or it has tried to leverage what all the functionalities of the element locator similar to what we have for Selenium. So like for example, this is one button, right? You clicked on email or username, and that was one particular element locator. And if you click on continue with phone, for example, this particular sections will come. Okay, so we will try to add these kind of validations to in order to understand whether our app is really working or not. And we will try to cover something called as Appium inspector. Okay, so Appium inspector is what we use to identify the elements on the app as such. Okay, you can use real app or you can use the emulator as well with Appium inspector. That's what I'm going to show in the next section. That once we understand, okay, what is APM inspector, how do we identify the element locators, how different are these element locators from Selenium, then we will try to identify these elements and then try to automate the test aspect of it. Okay, so let's do that in the next section. Alright, so in this particular section, we'll be looking of how to install an APM inspector and what's an APM inspector. Okay, so what I will do is I'll go to Google Chrome and I'll just type here as APM inspector. And the first thing that you are able to see is APM inspector is a GitHub. You'll be able to go inside this particular link and then you'll be able to understand what exactly does APM inspector do. Okay, so APM inspector is a GUI assistant tool for APM providing visual inspection of the element under test. Okay, it can show the application page screenshots along with its page source, and then you will be able to get some element locators. Okay, so there is an example over here. There is an app, maybe it's an emulator through which the APM inspector is able to, we are able to click on some of the elements and then we are able to get some of the class elements or web element locators, iOS element locators, accessibility ID, for example, we are able to get all that. Okay, so for this, what we have to do is first we have to install APM inspector. Okay, so for that, what I'll do is, so in order to install and download and install, you'll be able to see it over here, which is in the releases section. So I'll just go there and I can scroll down and look at the assets over here. There are 26 assets that I can see based on your OS operating system. Okay, if it's a Linux, Mac, or Windows, you can get either of that. Now in our example, we are using a Windows machine. So what I will do is I'll just download this one and get it installed. Okay, now it's a very easy process. You just have to download this zip file and then install your APM inspector. And once you are able to install your APM inspector, how will you will be able to see is where you will be able to search for APM inspector and this particular app will appear for you. Okay, so what will happen is once you click on this, something like this will get opened up. Okay, which is APM inspector. So this is what we will try. Kindly get this done, that is APM inspector download in your machine, and then let this open up. Once you are able to do this, how do we identify the elements is something that we will check it in the next section. Okay, so let's do that in the next sections. Once you have downloaded and installed this APM inspector specifically in your machine. All right, now that we have installed APM inspector, we can open up a APM inspector and then we can try to connect to this particular app. Okay, now there are some steps involved for using APM inspector specifically, and I'll show that steps as well. So what I will do here is I'll open up reddit.com as such. Okay, and after that I'll go to APM's as in the command prompt where we run the APM server as such, and over here I will run the command that I use to start my APM server. Okay, so I've just typed here as APM and then I'll press enter on my keyboard, and the moment I do that, you can see that the server has run. Okay, now, once the server has run, what I will do here is that I will try to come here on the EPM inspector and then I'll try to start a session. Okay, and you can get an error over here, that is automation name can't be blank and the platform name can't be blank. Okay, now else you might get another error, which is that allow course, that is allow CORS is not happening. So if that is the case, if you are getting an error related to allow course is not happening, what you can do is you can close this, minimize the APM server, then end your APM server run, which I am doing control C over here, control C couple of times, and then you can see the server has closed. Okay, Now what I did here is just run Appium and then press enter on my keyboard. Now what I will do is I will just run here as Appium and then hyphen allow, couple of hyphens, and then press enter. And then you can see that allow course equal to true has appeared over here. Okay. Now I'll open up the Appium inspector again and then I'll click on start session, and it's saying that automation name can't be blank or platform name can't be blank as such. Okay. So what we will do is we will enter the capability builders as well over here. So whatever capabilities we had set for this script, right? We had entered all this. You need to enter it here as well. So I'll keep on entering which matches with this. I'll select a JSON over here. So there is a drop down JSON object and then select this device name, UDID. Once I add that, then I'll add platform name, platform version. Here I'll select as number, not a JSON object. So I'll pass here as 11. Then I'll pass automation name, that is UI Automator 2. Then I'll pass the app package. Here I'll provide the details of Reddit.front page and app activity. And once I enter all these details, you can see that the whole JSON representation is coming here. And then I'll click on start session. And I've got an error over here. Failed to create session. The new session could not be created. Details platform version must be a string. Okay, so I'll change this from number to string or text as such. So you can see that value has changed over here. As in the double quotes have come, and I'll click on start session. And there will be some kind of delay. And you can see that it is connected to reddit.com as such. Okay, so I'll just open up Vysor here so that you can clearly see. So we have got connected to our reddit.com, and what I'll do is I'll probably use this. So if I click on this particular element which is continue with phone number, now I just click on this particular element, okay, and you can see that I am able to get the properties of this element. So I'll just expand this little bit so that it's visible, and you can see that there are different properties of this element as such, which is an XPath over here, and then we will be able to see the accessibility ID as well, which is continue with your phone number, and then we are able to get details like whether it's a button or a class name as such, which we will try to understand what are the elements that we can identify for an Android phone as well, and for UI Automator 2 as such. So let's do that, but hopefully it makes sense how you connect your Appium inspector to an app, and this is a process that we have to do so that you will be able to identify different elements as such of your app. So let's continue about what's the elements related to mobile app as such. Alright, so in this particular section, we'll be looking at Appium locator strategies and selectors as such. So whoever has worked in Selenium, they are aware of element locators. So Selenium is a web-based automation tool, and whatever is present on the web page, what we generally do is we try to locate an element on the web page. Okay, so Appium is a mobile app plus hybrid plus mobile web as such tool, and we have our own Appium locator strategies, and I'll just touch base on that in this particular session. Now, supported location strategies, especially for Appium, is there will be a class name or ID or name or XPath or accessibility ID hyphen Android UI Automator hyphen iOS predicate string or hyphen iOS class chain. Okay. Now, one good thing about the APM inspector as such is APM inspector has a very good mechanism to get the best element locators on the mobile app. Okay, and I'll explain when I am trying to depict that in our APM inspector as such. So what I'll do is because these are the location strategies: class name, ID, name, XPath, accessibility ID, Android UI automator, predicate, string, iOS, class chain. Now, what we were focusing on this particular video is we are focusing on Android. Okay, so you might be able to see some of the element locators which are hyphen Android UI automator. So it will not be containing iOS predicate string, iOS class chain as such. We will be looking at Android UI automator, and there is something called as accessibility ID as well, which are commonly included in the element locator of the mobile app, and I'll show that aspect as such as well. Before jumping on to capturing the element locators, we'll be looking from a perspective of there is couple of details on the APM locators. Okay, so one is a strategy, another is a selector, and you can understand that how we use a strategy is how to find an element. Okay, so we try to use the mechanism of how to find an element, and selector is which element in particular to find. Okay, so class name can be a locator strategy, or we can use accessibility ID, for example, we can use XPath, for example, as our locator strategy, and the selector will be the element in particular to find. Okay, so this is the command that we will use, driver.find element, and let's have a look at that aspect as well practically. When we are doing the driver.find element, we will use apm by, and then we will look at the locator strategy as well. Alright, so in this particular section, what we will do is we will use APM inspector to capture our elements, and we will try to use our strategy how to capture these elements, and we will look at how to use APM inspector with an app. Okay, so that is my target for this particular session, and this is an important section as well. So what I will do is I will first open the app and I'll show you what we are trying to validate or what we are trying to capture the elements for. Okay, so I'll go back to my Vysor. Now, if I open up Vysor, you can see this is the Uber app. Okay, and we have different tabs, and there is an account here as well. So if I click here, you'll be able to see that the profile is visible over here. So now what we are trying to do is we are trying to launch our app, and after launching our app we want to identify the login pages. Okay, very simple elements first, that we will capture the login elements, and then we will try to go to the complex elements as such. Okay, so I'll just navigate through what's really happening. So here parallelly I'll open up command prompt as well, and I'll move this particular visor here, and I'll open up apm inspector as well. Okay, now APM inspector is little bit learning curve. Like if you have not used APM inspector anytime before, it will take little bit time, but I'll give you a quick understanding about the different buttons it does. Okay, now you might have seen that this particular screen is already visible, right? And it's asking for an email address of your Uber app. Okay, so this is the Uber app already open, and it's asking for this particular element, which is, and what we are trying to capture here is this particular element properties. Okay, now you can see that I have already entered email addresses. Email address over here, which is aceautomationacademy@gmail.com, and what we are trying to identify in this particular session of APM inspector is that we are trying to identify this particular text. Okay, now you might be able to see this whole screen of APM inspector where there are different buttons over here, right? You can click on back, press back button, or you can press home button. You can press app switch button. So what really back button does is, if you are already a session created over here, once you click on back button, this session will go back. Okay, if you click on home button, the home button of the app will appear, and if you click on app switch button, it will look for some other apps behind running behind this particular app. Okay, maybe you might have opened Reddit app as such. So if you press app switch button, it will go to Reddit app as such. Okay, now these particular buttons, right, select elements as well as swipe by coordinates. Now select element is very important for us because once you click on search select elements, you will be able to identify the elements on this particular screen, mobile app screen. Okay, now I clicked on search element and I'm just navigating here, and this is our element, and once I click here, you'll be able to see that it's taking the properties of this element as such. Okay, now you can see that there is a class name, there is an Android UI automator, there is XPath. Okay, three elements. Now the good thing about the Appium inspector is it gives you the best possible element locators in the app. Okay, so it has given class name, UI automator and XPath, all three combinations. Apart from that, there is an attribute as a value down below. Okay, but in my personal opinion, whatever testing that I have done with Appium, or you can check with other automation engineers as well, these are the best possible combinations for the element locators. Okay, especially when you are using Appium inspector. So that is a good mechanism of getting the values or the element locators, selectors, and using your strategy to look for that element and making your driver run through those elements. Okay, now you can see that there is a class name over here, android.widget.edit text, and then there is a UI automator which it has picked up this particular UI selector, and there is an XPath. Okay, so it depends on you what you really want to use. You can use only one, not all of them, because you want to use a particular strategy. No, you don't want to do for all the strategy. You don't want to go for class name as well as UI automator plus XPath. You have to choose one of them. Okay, so that is the aspect of the Appium inspector, looking for strategies as well as selectors. Now about the navigation, right? Now you might have seen a tap button over here. Okay, so we have selected this particular element. So once you select this particular element, this particular area will get enabled and it will give you the properties of this particular element. Now if you click on tap, what really happens is it will look for trying to perform an operation on it. Okay, trying to perform an operation on this particular element. Now this particular element, you might already know that this is a text box. Okay, this is not a button or this is not a link text as such. It's a text box, and with the text box what you can generally do is you can do send keys. Okay, you cannot go for clicking on a button as such, right? That is the aspect of it. Now uh, when you click on tap, it will not be able to click because this is, even if it clicks, it is kind of a text box. That's why you will not be able to do anything with it. But as a user automation engineer, what I've done is I have entered my email address over here, right? Now once I have entered the my email address, and you will be able to see that there is a button over here, send keys. Okay, so send keys is another operation. So tap is kind of a click operation, and this particular button performs send keys. Okay, apart from that, you have another operations like this, like you can clear means you can clear the entry that we have done. So I have already entered here. Okay, not in this particular text but here. So this is like a session created by Appium inspector itself, and we can try to navigate to different elements or pages on the screen using the API inspector based on the operations that we do here, right? Now we can click on tap, that is, we can open up the button as such and then try to perform click on operation on that, or we can enter the email address or anything that you want to add into your text box and then perform a send keys as well. Okay, now I will give a quick demonstration so that it's easier for you to navigate and capture the elements of your app as well. But definitely this will help at a larger sense when you are trying to automate your own app or already existing app in your phone as such. Okay, so let's do that. So what I will do is I'll close this session. Okay, so this particular session is already running. I will quit the session and I'll restart the new session. Okay, when I'm restarting the new session, it is an Uber app which we are opening. Okay, so that is what we need to understand. I am creating a new session. Okay. So when I'm creating a new session from the APM inspector altogether, what really happens is the mobile app will get driven as well. So through APM inspector, the mobile app will get driven. Okay. That is the aspect of it. So let me quit the session and then restart the new session. All right. So I'll just click on quit session. And once I click on quit session, you can see that I have come to this page. Okay, so what I have done is I have entered all the device name, UDID, platform version, automation name, app package, app activity, all that I have done. And one good thing about this, you need not keep on entering this. Okay, there is an option to do a save as. If you are trying to automate a particular app, it is better to save this into a particular saved capability sets. Okay, and you can kind of reuse it again and again. You need not enter it manually every time. The capabilities you reuse those based on the saved capabilities. Okay, now I will start the session. When I am starting a session, there will be some kind of delay. Now I have got an error here, right? Could not connect to APM server. Now this is one of the errors that we have been looking previously because our APM server has not started. That's the reason we are getting this error. So we will close this and we'll come to this particular command prompt, and here we will enter APM hyphen hyphen allow hyphen course and then press enter on our keyboard. Let the APM server start first. It does look like APM server has started. Now I will go back to APM inspector and I'll just click on start session. Okay. The moment I am clicking on start session, you can see the commands are getting run and our Uber app has started. Now the good thing about this, if you notice, right, the moment we started the session in our mobile as well, the real device as well, the app has started. So what is being done here is APM inspector is driving this. Okay. Now we are on this screen. Okay, and this is the first pop-up that comes on the screen. Okay, allow Uber to access this device location. So we have to click on while using app only this time or deny. Okay, now if we deny, what will happen is the location will not get detected, but we want the location to get detected. Okay, while using the app. So what I will do is I'll click on select element. Okay, and I'll come here. Okay, while using app, I'll just click here. So when I'm clicking here, you can see that the mobile app has not moved, okay, but it has kind of detected the element properties of this particular element. So it has not performed any operation, okay. So it gives us time to understand what is the ID, what is the UI automator, what is the XPath, okay. Best possible is go for Android UI automator. If that is the case, what you can do is click on this, right, and your element properties gets automatically copied. Okay, you need not do anything. You need not do control A, control C or anything. It get automatically copied, which is kind of a ease of use of an APM inspector. Now once you have copied, you can put it in your script and then make it run. Now we will do this simultaneously or in but having said that, what I wanted to show you is quickly about the capturing the element properties using APM inspector. That is my intention of this section. Okay, now what I said to you is like we can use this button or this button to perform operations, right? Now we are here, we have identified this particular element. Now what I will do is I have captured the element, I have put it in the script, and I am ready to use the next element that comes on the screen. Okay, if I want to proceed, what I can do is I can click on this tab. Okay, I'll just click on this tab and you can see that my mobile app has moved. Okay, it has moved to the second page. Okay, so that is how we are able to perform a click operation. So once you select the elements, right, select elements do not perform the operation. It is to select the element and capture the properties, but this particular button is to tap and then move on to the next screen, or you want to perform some other operations. Okay, now you can see that the home page of the Uber is there. Now there is a button here which is get started and we want to click it, right? Now I have to capture the element properties. Now if you notice, the element properties is of the previous element, right? Now there was a pop-up which came, okay, do you want to really provide the location services to this Uber app? That was the element properties that we had selected. Now we have come to this screen. We have not selected any new element, right? It's the previous element that is appearing over here. So what I will do is I'll first capture the element properties of this particular button. So how do I do that? I just click on select elements, and then I click here, get started, right? Once I click on get started, you can see that the selected element has changed. Okay, it's an Android UI automator. Welcome screen continue, right? That is the Android UI automator, and there is a new class name which has come. So previously the element that we had selected did not have the class name. It only had ID, Android UI automator, and XPath. But this time class name is also provided for this particular element. So that is a beauty of APM inspector. It kind of gives you the best possible element locators. Okay, unlike Selenium. Now Selenium might have another tools like Chrome Inspector and all that, but APM Inspector, in my personal opinion, it is easier to use and easier to identify your elements as well. Okay, but you will have to make sure that the element is unique. Okay, if you don't select an element which is unique, or it is going to be a dynamic property as such, the element that you might have used might not be able to be used the next time that you run. Okay, so you will have to make sure of that. Like for example, XPath, right? Relative XPath and absolute XPath. So the general consensus is to go for a relative XPath and not an absolute XPath, because it might happen that the dynamic properties might not get selected the next time that you run. Okay, the properties might have changed. But in my personal opinion, again, is Android UI Automator is the best option that you can go, because it's kind of developed by the developers in such a way that for Android specific applications or apps as such, you can use this Android UI Automator. Okay. Now, what we can do is we might select this particular element. Okay, so I'll just click over here and I have copied it. I have used it in the script. Let's consider that. Okay, if I have used that element, now I want to move on to that application. Okay, so our application under test, we have to select the another element so that I can enter into the script. So what I do is I click on this particular tab. Okay, so the moment I do that, you can see that the screen has already changed in the app. So you come on this screen, okay, as expected. So you have moved to the third screen now, and you are able to identify that these are the elements which are we can probably scan and continue with our test, real test as such. Okay, now for example, what I can do is I'll click on select elements and I'll just click over here, right? And you can get the properties of this particular element, which is a mobile number, and you can see that there is an edit text and Android widget edit text, which is a UI automator. There's an XPath here, and apart from that, if you want to click on continue, for example, right now you enter mobile and then you want to click on continue, so we can get the element over here, right? Now if you want to enter using email address, right now if you want to use an email address, you can select the element and you can click on email address. So whatever you are performing here, it is not moving to the next stage, but it is helping you to give the particular example over here, and you are able to get the element locator. So with for the continue with animal, there are only two element locators over here. There are, right? So that is how we capture the elements. So hope you understand, and it is a learning curve for the APM inspector how to navigate using back button or home button. And home button, like as I said, if you click on home button, what will happen is this app will collapse and then you will be on the home page. Okay, I'll show you that as well. And if you click on app switch button, your app will change as such. And apart from that, what you can do is you can start recording as well. You can use to perform recording of the navigations that you do, right? And you can capture the elements as well. You can Now, one good thing about the APM inspector is you can record it or else you can download the screenshot. You can download this whole screenshot as well, which you can use it for your later investigation purposes as well. All right. So that is how we capture the APM inspector. In next section, what we will do is I'll try to capture all the elements all together. Okay. And then we will try to navigate some steps as well as per our need. Okay, I'll take a sample execution of test that we can navigate here and then try to automate that aspect of it. All right. So based on the last session discussion that we had, what I'll try to demonstrate in this particular section is that we'll go through the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is launch the Uber mobile app. And the validations that we will be doing is step number 2, that is click on get started button, verify if the mobile number text box is present or not. And step number 4, we verify if the continue with mobile number button is present or not. Step number 5, continue with email button is present or not. Click on continue with Google button is present or not. So what I have done here is through inspector, APM inspector, I have gathered the Android UI automator element locators. Okay, I've used them and I have scripted in this particular script. Okay, so here I'll explain the code as well, what we are trying to do here. And we had already looked at how to set up the capabilities, okay, and how to launch our application as well. So until line number 31, we have already done that. We have launched our application, but as soon as we launch our application, it is asking for a permission, okay, permission for the location. And what I have done is I have captured the permissions element location over here, and then I'm performing a click operation on that. Okay, so you using the driver itself. So until line number 31, I am initializing the driver over here, APM driver, and I am using the method of find element. Okay, driver dot find element new APM by, and by APM Android UI Automator. Okay, now I'll show you what I meant by this is if I use APM by, and you can use by accessibility ID, by XPath, by Android UI Automator. Okay, we can use different selectors, but the best selectors are present in the APM inspector in the right hand side. That is what I meant by it in the last section, right? And what I'm doing is I'm capturing this Android UI Automator selectors over here. Okay, so we are using a strategy which is Android UI Automator. You can change it to XPath also if you really want. If you want to change it, use the accessibility ID as well, you can use that. But in my example, I'm using Android UI Automator. But just a disclaimer, it won't be difficult. Even if you use XPath or you use accessibility ID, it will not be that different. You just have to modify this particular method, and based on that you have to pass that and then perform the operation on here. Okay, so here I am passing the Android UI Automator, which was a location present over here. Then comes the welcome screen. Okay, welcome screen comes in where you get that get started. You need to click on the get started in order to continue. So I am using that one. And we come on the page where it is asking for the mobile number, as well as we are using the text Gmail as well as email as well. Okay, so I have captured all this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up now my mobile app, which is Android application over here, real-time application, and I'll just unlock it as well so that it's kind of visible. And this is the page where I am validating the mobile number, I'm validating the continue button over here, okay, and the Gmail, continue with Gmail. So I'm validating 3 buttons as such. Okay, this is my simple test that I'm going to do it. Now what I will do is I'll make sure my server APM server is up and running, so I can see the APM server itself is running. Okay, and I will go behind and then I'll try to click on this run app test. Okay, so I'll open up Vysor. So what it's doing is Uber also has data in. Okay, so the app has got launched. It has clicked on location. It has clicked on continue button, get started button, and then it has reached this page and it has validated whether these 3 buttons are displayed or not. Okay, and then it has done the system.output.print application started. Okay, so this is clean run. Our test has passed successfully. We are not doing any assert. Okay, I'll show how asserts can be added as well. We just have to add a dependency of JUnit, and then we can do an assert equals as well. We can do that. Now, what if we have not selected a correct element locator? Okay, selector or strategy. If we have not used specifically strategy, of course, you will get an error over here. If you use not a correct strategy, your code will get detect that as well, and it will show that there is an error over here that is related to strategy. But if you use a correct strategy and if you don't use a correct selector, what really happens is I will show you. Now I have modified this purposefully. Edit text, if you see, I have modified this purposefully. I'll come back, open up my app again, and then I'll rerun this, and let's see what really happens. Okay, so the program has run. We are waiting for the app to get launched. The app has launched. It has clicked on location. It has clicked on get started, and then you can see that we have got an error. Okay, so it has failed at a error that no such element. Okay, so you might have noticed this is a very common Selenium exception. If your element is not located properly, then you will not be able to proceed. Okay, so there is a no element. So it's kind of Appium is using the Selenium as such, right? And Selenium exceptions as such, because Appium is on top of Selenium, and that's how we are getting this error. So it is important that we get the correct selector, and then only we'll be able to proceed. Okay, so that is what is very important for us. So this is the test of Uber app. In next section, what I'll do is I'll capture some elements of Reddit app as such, and then we will try to do an automation on that. So let's do that in the next section. All right, so in the second test of the Reddit app as such, what we'll try to do is we will launch Reddit app. And once we have launched Reddit app, we will look for this particular screen. Okay, and we will click on this particular search button. So you can see over here, I'm hovering on top of this search button on my Appium inspector. Okay, so once I click here, I can get the element properties over here. There is a accessibility ID as well in this case. So I think Reddit app as such has made it more accessible to the users, and that's why you can see accessibility ID, which is search. And once you click on this, okay, so once you click on this, what happens is you get a search opened up as such. Okay, now you will be able to see that once I click here in the Appium inspector, it takes little bit time for the Appium inspector to get opened up as such. But in the app as such, it's very quick. Okay, so it kind of takes little bit time for the sync, but which is fine as such. Okay, now after I clicked on the search button, what I need to do is I need to look for this particular element locator, which is search Reddit. Okay, now the moment I click here, you can see that there is an ID over here. Okay, so I can identify by ID, or I can identify by class name, I can identify by UI automator. Okay, now once I get this particular element, I'll get added into my script. Once I do that, what I'll do is I'll use this element locator to search something over here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll search here as Australia, and then I'll just click on send keys. Okay, the moment I do that, what you can see that Australia has opened over here. Okay, now the moment I do click on this particular send keys, what you might have noticed is the app already has entered the Australia as the details over here in the search, and you are able to see the communities over here which are appearing for from Australia. Okay, now that is what we will kind of do, some kind of validation that at least this element is getting present or not, it is getting displayed or not. Okay, so we will launch the app, we will click on the search button, and after we click on the search button, we will enter Australia over here. And once we click on Australia, as we will enter the send keys of Australia, then we will should be able to get something here in the first row. At least some result should be appearing from the app perspective. Okay, so that is what we will try to do. All right, so in this particular section, what we will do is we will look at automating this particular steps of Reddit app as such, and we will launch the Reddit mobile app. Then we will click on the search button. Then we will search text box as Australia. So we have to perform the operation as send keys, and this is a text box. Step number 4, if the first result is displayed or not. Okay, so this is what we will particularly try to validate in our automation script. So what I have done here is I am launching Reddit app. Okay, so couple of lines, which line number 24 and line number 25 have changed a little bit. What I have done is I have entered the app package as com.reddit.frontpage, and capability as app activity, I have set it as reddit.launch.main.main activity. Okay, so this is what I have done, and after that I am initializing my driver, which is Appium driver. After that I am clicking on search. Okay, so after launching I am clicking on search, and please note I have used a different locator or selector this time. Okay, so what I have done is I have used accessibility ID. So as I mentioned, there was a specific selector over here which is accessibility ID. You might be able to see this particular selector in mobile apps as such, so I have used that particularly, okay, in my script. And after that I have used Android UI automator similar to what we have used in Uber app as such. Okay, so what I'll do is I will open up Vysor here. Okay, so this is what is getting displayed in my mobile app phone, and after that what I'll do is I will make sure my Appium server is running, and it's running currently. And after that I will just run this particular script. Okay, so I'll just click on play, in fact run, and then come back to Vysor as such. So it has launched a Reddit app as such, and as you can see it has login to Reddit as such, and we are providing the details. After that Reddit app has got launched, and after that it has clicked on search. Okay, and it has looked for it has entered Australia in the search button, and then it is validating whether this particular result of our Australia is really getting displayed or not. Okay, so this is all getting validated, and after that you can see that application started is also appearing. Okay, so this is how we launch our application, and we have validated Reddit app as well, and that's how we do it in the Appium test as such. All right, so this covers our Appium inspectors and Appium testing as such, and we have demonstrated a couple of apps over here, which is Uber app as well as the Reddit app, as you can see in our previous sections. And hopefully it gives you an idea about the Appium testing, which is a pretty good tool. And what we have tried to depict here is a real device as such. Okay, so what I have noticed is in YouTube videos, generally the videos use emulators, but what I have tried to depict over here is you can use your real device itself to connect to your machine, and then try to run and navigate through your app as such. Okay, so stay tuned, and like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel as well. We give the latest videos, latest technical testing tools as such. Some of our videos have captured around 20, have become viral as well, and we have a big community who comment on our videos, helping each other as a community, so that whoever watches these videos, if they have doubts, the other viewers also comment on that and help those community as such. So stay tuned, and happy coding, happy automation testing.